So I'm just going to go through the steps now. So there's two ways of accessing it. You could either go into the home page in the duplicates tab and click Start Deduplication, and that will take you to the deduplication process. And or if you're within the Records tab, you can click on a record or a folder, and there's a deduplication button up here. We're in the final version, I think that's going to be moved to the menu in the record listing, so that would be up here. But it's going to do the same functionality. So if you could just click that, and then that will take you to the same page, but it would populate the source records for you. So I'm just going to go through this page now. So it's basically broken down now so that we can you can search a specific record type. So we've got reports or references, studies, and some users will have guidelines, but that would only be selected groups that are going to be able to view that option. And then once you pick this certain type of record, you can select the source that you want to deduplicate on. So this is currently the same as what's in the existing version. So you've got folder, marked list, or a specific search. So because I just came from this folder, it's already populated it, but I may want to search from my marked list or from a search, or if I get rid of that, I can actually just search for that folder and it will populate it for me within this screen. The main change now that we've implemented into this new deduplication is that you can now target specific records. So rather than searching the whole CRSD, we're allowing the user to select a subset of the database that they can search on. So this is the list of them. So we've got the folder is the first one. So you can choose, you might want to deduplicate against a certain folder. So for example, if you're screening for a review and you're looking at records to send to an author, you might already have a folder of records. So you might just want to check that the records you've just imported don't already exist in that folder. So that's one way. You might have a marked list, a set of records in a marked list that you just want to deduplicate against. We've got a review, which is basically any published review that gets sent to CRS will have all the included, excluded, and ongoing references, as well as any reference that that's been sent to the author via the tracking screen in CRS. So we will then just do a match on any of those records against the source, whether it be your folder or marked list or the search, to see if there are any potential duplicates in there. We've got the My Register. This is the default one that will be used for, I imagine most users will probably use this. So this will then dedupe the source against any record that's currently in your register. You've then got My Segment, which does the same as My Register, but it's everything within your segment rather than just your register. You've got All Registers, so that's the target would be any record that's in any group's register, so it ignores any that are just in a segment, including your own segment. So just check any record in a register. And then you've got Central, which checks dedupes against any record that we've got marked as being in Central. So I'm just going to run, I think, My Register for now. The final step is then to choose a filter. So there's some default filters already in there, which are named by the name of the field plus the length of the search. So if you want to run this one, for instance, would be the first 4 characters of the author plus the first 4 characters of the year. You can then edit or create a new filter at this point as well. So you might want to create a new filter. You can just click this button here and it will take you to a new page to allow you to create the filter. So you might want to enter the name that's appropriate to that filter. So if I go for the same. And then you can choose whether you want to share that filter. So this would mean if you choose to share it, it will allow all users access to that filter. If you uncheck that, then it will only be accessible by people within your group. You can then choose the record type that you want to search this filter on. So depending on which type you choose would be what fields are available in the next step. So report would have all the report fields. If you click study, we add an additional field that allows you to deduplicate on fields, link references, or both fields and link references. So that the link references will be, it'll do a match on any reference that is linked to both studies. So if it finds a match there, that will then come back within the deduplication listing in the results. But I'm just going to do one on reports, I think. So I said author 4 characters. So then you just add the fields here that you want to deduplicate on. And then it will just give you confirmation of which ones you've added down the bottom. And then once you've completed that, you can click save. That will then take you back to the initial deduplication process screen and automatically populate the deduplication filter with the filter you've just created, and then show you the fields that it's going to deduplicate against. And then once all that screen is you're happy with it, you can then just choose to deduplicate, which will then run the deduplication process as before. It will just take you then to a waiting screen while it's running, and hopefully that's a bit quicker than it was before. But that then takes you to the result listing. It finds all the results, and it populates the first record within those results. And then from here, the screen is the same as it was in the previous deduplication. So you would just choose the fields that you want, whether it is actually a duplicate. So if it's not a duplicate, you can just mark it as not a duplicate, and then every time you run this record again, it won't compare, it won't find it as a match in this listing. If you just want to see the results, you can click on the results tab, and that will take you to all the results that were found during that deduplication process. So it looks like I found 8. So you can then either choose to restart that duplication, which will take you back to the process screen, and you can then run it again. Maybe you might want to run a different filter on the same records, or choose a different target for those records. And then that is pretty much it for the results. But what we've also added is the opportunity to run this within a single record as well. So you can view the record. So I've just added these records into my marked list here. And then there's a tab in the reference. If I can make that bigger, over there, called duplicates, which has been there before, but we've now extended it so that it shows the any records that were found in the current duplication process. It shows the matching, the different records. So this will be the same screen as you see in the duplicate tab, but it just allows you to deal with it in this screen instead, in the same way. But it also allows us to run a deduplication. So we can run a single deduplication on this record within this tab as well. So you can just click this button in the menu item, and it will populate a new panel, a new page. And in the same way as the deduplication screen, you can choose which target you want to run this deduplication on, so whether it be folder, marked list, etc., and the deduplication filter, and then you can choose to just run that, and that will then just find the match again. So that would just then rerun the deduplication on this record and find any records that match within that certain target. What that will do is then, if it will remove that record from the result listing in here if it doesn't find any matches, and if it finds a match for that record, it will include it in this listing, but it won't remove any of the other results. So you'll still have your previous process in there until you run a new process within the deduplication tab. And then the rest of the steps are the same in here. So if you find a record that you think has emerged, you would just pick the fields that you think are correct, and then choose to merge the records here, and then that will just combine the records and remove this from the deduplication tab, and it will just show that you have no duplicates. if I'll just show you that in fact. So if I was to run a more wider deduplication search, I might find that it doesn't find any records. Might not come back. Yeah, so it's run that and it hasn't found any records that match those fields with this record. So you get that, and it should have removed it from here as well, but maybe it has. But yeah, that's it. So that's the new deduplication process. We're hoping it will be a lot faster and a lot easier to merge records for the user, and a lot simpler to run and follow step by step when you're if you're actually new to it or you've not used it for a while.